everybody, Lacey here. Welcome back to my channel. I'm actually filming from my sister's place in Seattle. I brought my little bear friend with me and it's early in the morning. I'm not quite fully awake, but I have managed to be awake enough to get myself dressed and so forth so that I could do this video for you guys because this is my weekly deck review. So this is the video each week where I talk about the decks that I worked with all week, the sort of my impressions of them. I usually work with one tarot and one oracle deck fairly exclusively for a week, unless I'm called to use a different one for a client or for a specific reason or for myself or whatever, but typically I work with one most of the week for my daily draws, my Instagram challenges, my personal spreads, even sometimes reading for clients and other people, that sort of thing. And then I will also talk about what I'll be working with next week, which is really exciting. So I'm just going to get right into this. I haven't even taken anything out of its bag or box or anything yet, but so this week for tarot, pardon me, I have a little frog in my throat. I have been working with the Naked Heart by Jillian Wild, and I have to say that this was a really, really good reader for me. So this is the back. And this is the front. I was a little nervous about this deck because, to be honest, I haven't quite gelled very well with the Wild Unknown. So I think that's a little glary. I wonder if I can adjust my brightness. I might be able to. Let's see. Did that do it? There we go. That's a little better, I think. Okay. So it's going to go really white when it's looking at these because they've got so much white space, and then it'll fix itself. But the thing is, so I found that even though there was a lot of white space, the colors in the cards were vivid enough. I know that sounds kind of strange, but I struggle with the Wild Unknown and all the blank space or the art style, and I felt like this was going to be a better fit for me, and I do think I was right. It read really well. I love this Ace of Swords. It read really well. It was really clear. It looked good in spreads. And yeah, it just played really nicely with me. I didn't have any issues where cards didn't, you know, make sense to me or it felt dissonant in any way. It just, yeah, it totally just worked. I love this little guy in the 7. Is this a 7? Yeah, it's 7. I also really appreciate that the symbolism that is in here is intentional and meaningful. I've got to show you if it doesn't come up. Okay, it doesn't come up. I think one of my favorite cards, besides like the outside of the majors, is the 7 of Cups. Oh, I also really love this 9 of Pentacles. It's just a perfect, sorry, I'm covering up the words, but that's just a great representation of the 9 of Pentacles. Where is my 7 of Cups? I really want to show you. This deck still has a little bit of that sort of, not stickiness, but clumpiness that a matte deck has when it's fairly new. Where did it go? Oh my gosh. Seriously going to be in the bottom of the pile. But I have to. Also, okay, while I'm looking, there's also the 10 of Pentacles. Love that guy. Oh my god. Every time I want to find a specific card. I could have actually prepped in advance and like had it up top and like, there it is. I love it. Because this to me really clearly illustrates this idea of like literally having your head in the clouds, of not being really sure what to focus on, of not knowing where to spend your energy, and of maybe doing a bit of that the grass is greener on the other side kind of stuff. I really, really like that. Love, 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 love this deck. So this was really fun to work with. It's definitely a solid keeper for me. I don't feel like I'm going to be like not excited to pull it out when it's time to pull it out. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say because it's very clean, and it's very simple, and it's a very good reader. And I enjoyed working with it, but I've had a lot of distractions this week too, to be fair, so I didn't get to give it my full attention. It was US Thanksgiving this week, so I am traveling. I did bring it with me, but a little bit less maybe quality time with this specific deck because of that, because of course my sister and I went shopping up here in Canada, down here in the States, and she also gave me a couple decks as early Christmas gifts, so I have lots of things around me right now that have been pulling my attention away. But I did read with this for daily pulls every single day, and it was fantastic. So really enjoyed it. I did a couple of spreads, nothing too crazy though. But I will have no problem returning to this again and again. Actually, there is one little minor gripe I have with this deck. So the guidebook is super thick, which is nice, but I like to actually read my guidebooks, and so because it's so thick, it's kind of hard. It was hard initially to sort of open the pages. So I did intentionally break the binding. I'm sorry if that like bothers you if you're like a book lover, but I like to be able to open the pages like all the way, which when it's bound with, I think it's called Perfect Bound, when it's bound with like a sewn binding, I don't know what they're called, you can do that and it makes the book infinitely more comfortable to read. This one I think does have a glued binding, or it's just so thick that the binding doesn't hold as well, because I have already had a couple pages. Yeah, here it is right here. You can see how it's separating. I've got a page coming out already in the justice section, and I think there's a couple of other spots that's happening, so that was kind of a bummer. I had hoped that it could hold up to it, and it could just be that because it's so thick that opening it like that just was too much for... I don't know enough about how to keep my book safe apparently, but I was a little bummed about that. So it's fine. It's going to live in the box, so it's unlikely that I'm going to lose any pages, but I was not thrilled. But again, I've never had a guidebook quite that short, chunky, and thick, so perhaps trying to open it all the way it was probably just user error. But I thought I'd mention it just in case it matters. And the terror cloth you all have been seeing on my Instagram this week is this really lovely one that Peggy made me. This is a quilted one in the sense that it's got a layer of batting in it, so it's padded and thick and really nice. And then she embroidered this really beautiful silvery blue labyrinth in the center. So it's been really fun to put my daily draws on each side of this labyrinth, so you'll see that on my Instagram. That was really fun. I don't think I actually used this other side, although the other side is really, really beautiful, just because I kept wanting to have the labyrinth in the picture. But, oh, maybe, actually that's not true. When I did some personal spreads for me, I turned it over to this side, because I wasn't going to be doing a spread that would let the labyrinth show anyway. But this was really fun and pretty to use. And Peggy even put some like really cool sort of spirally stitching down the border. If you can see that. So pretty. So that was really fun. The Oracle deck I was working with this week, I know I did that kind of out of order. I usually show the reading cloth last. What is the Whispers of Lord Ganesha Oracle? That's the backs. You guys, if you've seen my unboxing, and I probably said I was going to link it in the cards, and I'll try and remember to do that on this video, at least at some point. It might not be right when it uploads, but I will try to remember to do that. But you can also just look on my channel. I did a live unboxing, like first impressions of this deck. It's so beautiful. It's very loving and compassionate, but it also, I feel like, speaks pretty directly. The voice, and when I say that, I mean, I know it's not talking to me, that would be crazy, but at the same time, I feel like decks, especially, I feel like the decks that I gravitate towards in my collection typically have a pretty strong voice, and I guess voice, I mean maybe like a personality. I don't know how to describe it. It's a combination of how the artwork speaks to my intent, to my intuition, combined with how the guidebook reads. And with Oracle decks, I do enjoy reading the section in the guidebook for each. Actually, I really like this one. Guidance. Yeah, I really actually love this image. Sort of this little Ganesh surrounded by all of his spiritual teachers. I actually had a couple stalker cards this week with this one. One of the cards that kept coming up for me was Steadfastness, which is not, of course, in this little pile. And, yeah, here it is. And I do think this deck looked really nice next to Naked Heart. I think they were a good pairing. They felt like they went together. And you can see some of those pairings for my daily polls on my Instagram. And I think I also did a spread. I'm trying to remember now. I did do a couple of like 3-card spreads with just this deck for myself. And I really, really enjoyed that. I do think it... Look at this. Like, sorry about the glare. But beautiful. Just beautiful. No complaints. Will be super pleased every single time I pull this out. It's probably in my top few Oracle decks that I really, really love. So I will always recommend this one. It is, and I etched this one in like a yellow that matches the little border there. Anyways, I adore this deck. I think the guidebook is really well done, and the guidebook actually still fits in my bag. It's a typical like Blue Angel where the book is slightly bigger than the cards. I wish they would start making their guidebooks about the same size as the cards so we could have like a deck-sized box, but I'll live. It's fine. But it is a really, really beautiful deck, so super excited about that. But I'm really, 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 really excited about this week because if you've been watching my channel, then you know that I got sent a deck that has been on my wish list for a long time, and it is the Monstarot. This is probably my soul deck. Like, I'm pretty sure at this point it's my soul deck. This is the deck that is going to stay out all of the time on my working altar. It's the deck that I always want to be available. This is not a deck that I'm probably going to rotate because I'm probably going to be using it full time, in the sense that it will always be available for me for my personal readings, especially if I have questions, whatever. I'm still going to rotate my other decks, but this has to be out all the time. And I've never said that about a deck before. The other thing I've never said about a deck before is that it needed to have a crystal that lived in the box or in the bag with it, and this one does have a crystal that lives with it now. This is my Atlantisite that I got when I was with my sister in a few months ago. It wasn't her most recent couple visits, but before that. It was around the time I did the 25 wacky questions, and we went to some shops and got some crystals, and I showed this in the giveaway announcement and in our live chat we did together. But this one is such a perfect fit for this deck, so it's definitely living with it. The guidebook that comes with this deck is a little guide, but it's got a good amount of information, about half a page on every card, and a couple keywords. The guidebook is very well written. I love the way that it's written. It's written in the same voice that I would expect for this deck, which I really appreciate. I can't wait to just play with this in a dedicated way all week, even though I know it's gonna be staying out after that. So the Monstarot, I mean, you can watch my completely flipping out video, which I will definitely try to remember to link in the cards. You can watch that to see how I reacted the first time I pulled this deck out. I absolutely love every single card. I understand every single card. It speaks like directly to my heart. I completely get it. It does not feel to me to be, what do we call it here, like nice washed deck. To me, it's, as much as I think that for a lot of people this would be their hug deck, and it does make me feel that way, I also feel like it's a complete balanced system all by itself. Now that can be because this is a deck that speaks in a voice that is very much my voice, if that makes any sense. That's why it feels like a soul deck, because this deck, its personality and my personality are like a perfect fit, if that makes any sense. I'm gonna just keep saying that. I know what I mean. And so because of that, I'm able to see the shadow perfectly fine in these cards. I'm able to see the fallacy even in the smiley moments. I can see hurt. And there are cards in here where our little monster friends are not the happiest. We see that in the little creatures here in the background of the Five of Swords who have lost. And there's a few other cards. Obviously the Five of Pence, we see it in the Five of Cups. We see it in the Ten of Swords. So it does show up. It doesn't, you know, in the Eight of Swords coming up. I will happily show you this entire deck. See, look, she's still like uncomfortable. She's still, yeah, I love it. I love the fact that there are no races or genders. I mean, so there's definitely genders. I shouldn't say that there's no genders, but it gives a spaciousness to the way it's read. To me, it transports me to a whole new world where these little monster friends live and have their own troubles and their own worries. And I like the way that it transports me. Here's our Five of Pence. I like the way that it transports me. I like the way that it feels very clean and undiluted in a way by our world. I know that sounds so strange, but yeah, I adore it. I adore it. And there is a card, an extra card in the Major Arcana called the Illuminator, which almost made me cry when I read it in my first impressions. Where is it? I will show you. I actually would die for some of the print. I wouldn't die, but you know what I mean. I would love to have some of the prints that the artist has up in her shop of this deck and just put them on my wall. But this one is one of the ones that she offers as a print, the Illuminator, and I think you can even get it in like a metallic. I probably should tell you all that because now I'm going to go buy it and then I won't be able to get it someday, but I really kind of want it. But this card as an extra card is actually really brilliant because it speaks to the idea that no matter what difficult things that you've been through, I should keep it held up. No matter what difficult things that you've been through, no matter how dark the world might seem, you always have an inner light that you can draw on. That's what this card speaks to, which to me is amazing because I think a lot of times we look to the star as that external sign of hope and peace and comfort and sort of replenishment, and we look to strength for this idea of drawing up our inner resources when we're sort of battling our own personal demons, and we're balancing out our shadow side with ourselves. This card is about the sort of inner strength that comes from, and the inner light and the inner hope that we hold on to even when the circumstances in our life might have taken that away from us. So it has a lot of personal meaning for me personally. I'm going to say personally again, and I don't even care. But I love this deck so much, and it's going to stay with me, like I said, all the time. I'm not going to edge it because it's got a white back and then white sides, so it doesn't feel disjointed the way a lot of other decks do when they don't have edged borders. And Peggy, of course, did immediately embroider me a bag, which you've probably seen because I posted it everywhere, and it is beautiful. So here is the cover of the box with our monster friend from the Four of Swords, pictured there in his meditation pose. And then this is the bag that Peggy made me. So she literally took this image and she cleaned it up and like set it up to be embroidered. Like, it took quite a bit of work. I watched her do it. It was incredible. And then she embroidered that on this beautiful blue watery bag for me, which this whole thing is probably among one of my most prized possessions at this point. It's very, very special. So I could gush about this deck a lot, so needless to say, I'm pretty sure my review will be positive at the end of the week, just to own my crap. I don't think there's going to be any nasty surprises, but I will have had a chance to get to know it a lot better. It's got its little crystal back in it. So I'm just excited to work with it. And it was actually really hard to pick an Oracle deck to go next to it because I feel very picky in particular because, well, it's my new soul deck. So I did decide that next to this deck, and I did this for two reasons, mostly because the colors matched, because it didn't pull me out of that world, and because I really probably am going to be focusing more on the tarot deck. So this is just kind of a little added thing that I can toss into my spreads. I won't use this for divination, but anyways, enough babbling. I'm going to be using The Universe Has Your Back this week by Gabrielle Bernstien. This is a really sweet deck that is an affirmation deck. So it doesn't, to me anyway, it does not feel like a divination deck. It feels like a little booster to readings. It feels like something that I'll often pull this deck out for client readings or for my own personal readings after I've put down my tarot and my oracle as like a punctuation to the reading, a little final message or affirmation or bit of advice. And I think the colors of this will go really nicely next to my Monstarot, and I think that this will allow me to focus most of my attention on the Monstarot for the week, which is my goal since I'm going to probably have that deck available full-time after this. I want to really dedicate my attention to it. And so this will let me do that and still give me a little something extra to toss in and to work with. And that's kind of a neat thing to do because this deck is not one that I reach for as an oracle deck, even though I put it in my oracle deck collection list. It's probably, I think it's the only, no, I've got two affirmations deck. I have this one and I have the Affirmators. I don't reach for decks like this for divination because they're all positive. They're all like boosters, you know, like positive boosters. But they're really enjoyable to look at. And this one is so beautifully done. I actually was at a store with my sister this weekend and we spotted there's a journal by Gabrielle Bernstien in the style of this deck. It's literally called The Universe Has Your Back Journal. There's also a book, The Universe Has Your Back, which I feel like I should have known already, but I didn't know. So I've never read it. But I love this deck for exactly what it does and for what it is. And this looks really pretty next to a lot of decks. But again, this week I just wanted something that wasn't going to distract or pull me away from the world of the Monstarot, and this is perfect. So anyways, enough babbling about that. The last thing to show you is the reading cloth I'm going to be working with this week. I pulled back out this little spirals, colorful spirals guide, just because the Monstarot is so bright and cheerful. And then the background is a deep purple, which actually shows in the lighting at my sister's place. When I film at my place, I think this looks kind of black when I show it, but yeah, it's a deep purple, and then that's the fronts. So that is what I'm going to be working with underneath my readings and spreads this week. I'm kind of glad to be putting away the Naked Heart and the Whispers of Lord Ganesha, just because I'm so excited to dig into these two decks. So, well, really, it's the Monstarot I'm excited about, let's be real. But Anyways, I will let you know, I'll know at the end of the week what my experience was like, and then I'm so itchy, like I keep itching my nose, but I'll let you know what my experience was like and what I will be working with next time we meet for this video. So I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you all again very soon.